Hello and welcome everyone. This is Terry Roberts and I am with DMAI, Destination Marketing Association International, and we are the trade association for DMOs, also known as Convention and Visitors Bureaus. And I would really like to welcome you all today and thank you for joining us, as well as having the opportunity to introduce you to our panelists who we're thrilled to have. And first, I'd like to introduce you to Candace, also known affectionately as Candy Murray. And Candy is a conference planner for the International Association for Identification. And she has been with AIA since 2000. And Candy coordinates their annual education conference, which is attended by approximately 1,200 attendees, as well as their extensive exhibit program and their service providers to reach their audience. She also coordinates a variety of smaller meetings for her committees and boards throughout the year. And if you're not familiar, the International Association for Identification is a professional membership organization and comprised of individuals who work in the field of forensic identification. Sort of those CSI folks, Candy, right?
That's great.
So over 7,000 members in 77 countries. AIA remains the oldest and the largest forensic science association in the world. So welcome, Candy.
Thank you so much.
Whoa.
And Candy, you're joined today by Martha Sheridan, and Martha is the president and CEO of the Providence Warwick CVB. And Martha is also currently the chair of DMAI's board of directors. Hey, Martha, how are you?
Good afternoon, everyone. Doing
Nice.
well, thank you.
Thank you. And Martha leads a great organization there in Providence, Warwick, and their mission is really to create vibrant growth for their local hospitality economy in promoting and developing and expanding the visitor industry. And she and her meetings market team do a great job, and we look forward for Martha to share her expertise. And I'd also like to thank and welcome Chauncey Keller. And Chauncey is with ePro Meetings app. And ePro is our sponsor today, and we'll hear a little bit more from Chauncey at the end of our webinar today. So we're here. Our primary goal is, if we have you walk away from the webinar here in a half an hour, our goal is for you to really understand better practices and ways to connect with your CVBs in destinations that you are considering for a meeting. And when I think about destination knowledge, I personally always think back to a story that was told to me by Salvatore Sorelli. Many of you may know Sal. He is with the Security Industry and Financial Markets Association, and he relayed a cool analogy in terms of when he was a kid and taking road trips with his parents. His dad was afraid to fly, and he would take road trips with his mom and dad. And that feeling of being on a highway and getting ready to exit. And how do you know when it says Providence, next 5 exits, how do you know exactly where to get off? And Sal's dad would always tell his family that they were going to get off on the exit marked Visitor Center, because those people would know and have access to all the information and could tie what the family wanted to do with what the destination had to offer. And Sal said, that it was funny, many years when his life led him to be a meeting planner, he would always think about his dad's advice and think that a CVB was also a great resource in any destination he was considering a meeting for, to make sure that he did not miss any of the opportunities that that destination had to offer. So our goal today is to kind of cover the nitty-gritty with you, to first kind of talk about some of the myths and misperceptions of the CVB industry, and Martha will sort of unveil the elephant, if you will, in our CVB lobby. And then Martha and Candy are both going to share some tips for getting the most from your CVB relationships. And then I look forward to sharing a few tools that you can use online to connect with CVBs. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over now to Martha. And Martha, you get started by telling our attendees today about some planner intelligence and what we've gleaned in recent surveys.
Great. Thank you, Terry. And I'm happy to be with you today, both in my role as president of the Providence Warwick CVB, but more importantly in my role as chair of DMAI. And our association, as you know, has many passions, the least of which is not that we want our planners to understand that working with a CVB or a DMO is really the best course of action and a win-win for both the destination and for the planners that we work with. So the team at Empowerment and at DMAI does a lot of research trying to figure out what are the hot buttons for our planner partners. And you know, this slide kind of says it all. What is your pain point from a planning perspective? And what comes up quite frequently is that planners don't associate CVBs top of mind with helping them find a location, a destination, a locale for their meeting, and they just don't associate us with engaging in that task. And I just want to reinforce that this is for us one of the key services that we can provide to our planner partners. And we really like to engage with our planners at the very beginning of the process. It helps us ensure that you have the most the right venue, you've sourced out the right destination, and have everything that you need for a successful program. So I hope that at least through this webinar we're able to educate you on what it is that a DMO or CVB can do to help you source hotels or destinations for your next program. Oftentimes planners would sometimes go to Google to look for a destination, or of course they'd work with their hotel GSO or a third-party planning company. But working with a CVB isn't necessarily mutually exclusive to those. We are actually a great conduit for you when you're looking for a hotel or a destination to hold your program. So again, we're not mutually exclusive. In fact, we can bring a lot to the table in this area in that we know about all of the properties in our destination. We know the particular nuances of each property. We'll talk a lot about this in a future slide. But we also know about properties that may not be associated with a brand. So if you're not working with a CVB in your destination, you might be missing out on some great unique properties that you might not have otherwise thought of when sourcing a locale for your program. So for us, for a CVB, working with you is without question our top priority in finding the right location for your program.
And Candy, I know that you're one of our raving fan planners who has really tapped into understanding and really using the CVB to your advantage, but I know that there are other planners out there that might fall into different buckets, and I wondered if you'd like to comment on that.
That's true. I am one of the raving fans, but I also know there are planners who are unaware of how the CVBs work, and they may hold misperceptions or work with another planning partner and may feel that the relationships are exclusive, and I've happily learned that that's not the case.
If I just want to jump in, Candy is a perfect example of a raving fan, and you know, we started working with her at the onset of her meeting. She met in Providence, her group met in Providence AIA in August of 13, and she really availed herself of all of the services that our organization could provide her. From the moment that she picked up the phone and contacted us, and we disseminated a lead on her behalf, until the moment her last delegate left town, she absolutely maximized the services that we provided. And I think, and Candy can comment on this, ultimately it resulted in her having a very, very successful program in this destination.
Oh, absolutely it did.
So, Martha, let's turn to you now. When you look at this elephant in our lobby, if you will, we didn't call this webinar Misconceptions without a reason. So I wondered if you would like to maybe cover off with the audience some very specific and fairly generalized misperceptions that some may hold about CVBs.
Happy to do that. I think one of the first misperceptions is that if you work with us in the lead distribution process, that we're going to blanket your lead all over our destination, even to properties that might not be appropriate for your particular needs. And, you know, the fact is that 99% of the CVBs that you will work with will be your partner in sourcing the appropriate venue for you. We know that, again, it's a win-win if we make sure that you're in a property that is best suited to your program. So we work hand in hand with our customers to ensure that we're only disseminating that lead to those properties that would be an appropriate fit for your program. And, you know, I think the second misperception is that, okay, CVBs are all membership-driven, so they're only there to serve the businesses that are members of their organization. And although we do have, many of us have partnership programs in place at our CVBs, the fact is that our ultimate goal is to provide unbiased advice and counsel to our customers. And you know, we really want to make sure that you're happy. We know that you're going to speak to hopefully 10 other planners once you've used our services, and we want to make sure that your experience with us is as positive as it can possibly be. So we try not to bring a membership bias to the table when we're working with you. Another misperception is, well, they only want to work with planners that have large programs or citywide programs. And speaking from personal experience here in Providence, that really, nothing could be further from the truth. We work with meetings from any size, you know, 10 delegates to a citywide, and we're very passionate about the service we provide and the programs that we provide to our customers, and we want to make sure that regardless of the number of delegates, that you have a seamless experience here. So we really do source and service groups of all sizes, as I said, from 10 to 5,000. And if you're in a larger destination, it could be from 10 to 25,000. And then another issue is the issue of credit. Who takes credit when the lead gets generated and the booking occurs? And I know there might be this perception that there's a bit of competition between a CVB and a GSO or a third-party planner such as a Helms-Briscoe or a Experian. But the fact remains that we just want your business to come to our community and for you to have a good experience here. So, yeah, we may take credit for the booking, so to speak, but we would like to take credit alongside our GSO and our third-party partners. So it's not an either-or, it's an and in that case. And I think, you know, one of the most frequently asked questions about DMOs or CVBs is, so what's the catch? Why are you doing this? How are you funded? How do you make your money? Well, the fact is most of us are funded with public dollars through room tax fees or assessments or taxes, if you will. And, you know, we're entrusted by our governing bodies to represent our destination as effectively as possible and just ensure that we bring meeting, convention, and leisure business to our community. So we're really in it for the reasons that you would expect, which is we want impact in our communities, and by working with our clients, we hope to attain that. So that's, you know, that's really, I think, the key misperceptions that we wanted to dispel through this. There shouldn't be any surprises when you work with a CVB. We don't all do the exact same thing, but we pretty much follow the same formula, and you know, we just want to make sure that you're successful, because when you're successful, we're successful.
Thank you, Martha. And I think in the end, we want everyone to walk away with hoping that there's kind of a better way to find what you're looking for. We're not suggesting that planners don't avail the tremendous amount of resources available to them online, but to perhaps supplement their internet research with some actual face-to-face, person-to-person contact to help them get through all the information. So I know now that Martha and Candy would like to share some best practices or tips with working with your CVB professionals.
Well, just, you know, kind of following up on some of my past comments, I think one of our most important roles is that we help you filter through all of the information that's out there. I mean, obviously, if nothing else, the Internet has given us choices upon choices, and our industry keeps growing. We have more properties, et cetera. But our teams and our staff are really available to help you filter through the information, supplement what you might, as Terry said, have gotten information you might have gotten previously. and also just streamline the process for you. Instead of you having to contact 10 or 15 hotels on your own in 3 or 4 destinations, why don't you allow us to do that in our own destination, gather those proposals for you, and hand them back to you in one nice package so that you don't have to communicate your same program needs 15 different times. So I think one of the key services that we provide is that filtering of the information for you. So if you start your conversation with the CVB before you send out your RFP, your process can be made that much easier. And Candy, I'm sure you can probably attest to that, given that you use CVBs all the time.
Oh, absolutely, Martha. As I'd mentioned earlier, I'm a huge CVB fan, but I consider the CVBs my #1 liaison. It's the best resource I can start with when I'm investigating a city, and we're in a different location every year. So when I start the process, a contractual process, about 5 years prior, with a city that I have an interest holding a meeting, I need them to help me determine quickly if it's going to be a fit or not a fit. And if they can access, they can determine my needs as I inform them of exactly what I want, and also what hotel space and center space requirements I have and what the fit might be there. Then I can drill down further with them to determine the resources that are available in the destination beyond the hotel and convention space, the things I might need for educational portion of the conference, as well as social events that we plan every year. And these tasks from the very start would take an incredible amount of my time and research on my own without the definitive assistance I can get from the CVB.
I think, too, because we are in constant communication with the properties in our destinations in most instances, I think that we can also help to ensure that you will get a response from the hotels that you're interested in. I mean, it's no secret that hotel sales managers in this day and age, in the electronic day and age, are inundated with leads from a variety of sources coming at them, whether it's through a CVent or through empowerMINT or direct from the customer, through their GSO, and through the CVB. But because we are in communication with our hotel properties pretty much on a daily or weekly basis, we're able to communicate the nuances of your program to them a little bit more effectively, and maybe encourage them, okay, I know that you may have seen this lead in many other places, but I've had a conversation with this client, and we really think this is a program that would suit your property well, so we encourage you to bid on it. So I think, it may actually encourage hotels to bid more on your business if you're working with your local CVB.
What about consultative advice? Candy, how do you really use your CVB resources to get the kind of consultative advice you need in a destination that is destination specific?
Well, once we know that the business is going to be definite in a specific destination, then I continue to look for support and advice, recommendations, and about a year out, it's an interest on my part to have the CVB assist me with promoting the location for the following year, because we start marketing a year ahead of time at the conference for that year. And they can help with press releases also as well, in addition to the promotion and pricing of the conference through just handout materials and rack brochures, things of that nature that I can utilize for promotion. We partner with local agencies as well, but the CVB has connections that we might not have when it comes to a number of those things. Also, one of my big things is the advice that I can get from the CVB on local venues and recommendations, partners that I might be able to use, local vendors that are CVB partners, and I can spend a ton of time trying to track that down on my own, but if I can go to the CVB and ask for specific recommendations, whether it's a florist or a printer or any partner that they might have that can assist me with specifics. That helps me, not only because the vendor member has a better understanding of my business and what the worth of my business might be to the city, but also that they would have to answer to the CVB if anything goes wrong. Then as we get closer, the CVB helps immediately on site with the running of the meeting, keeping it going smoothly. If it's a citywide, the CVB is great on the pre-coordination for pre-conference meetings, site inspections, and they can assure that everything between the center and the hotels and all the venues are in place for me.
So, Candy, I know that you, again, I repeat, you avail yourself of all the services available through CVB, and I think too, just to back up a little bit in the process beyond the point where we're at a servicing level with a particular client, you might also want to think about, as a planner, having your CVB contact take a look at your RFP before you distribute it, or before we distribute it, just to make sure that it's well crafted for the particular destination. We might have some input on your arrival departure pattern based on our particular destination, or other groups that might be meeting at that same time that might be in conflict with you. So that consultative process really should begin at the very beginning, and as Candy mentioned, shouldn't stop until your last delegate leaves town. Again, talking with your CVB person about the right vendor fit for you, talking about if there are locals, if it's appropriate in the community that you might engage as speakers in your program. There's just so much. We are the local destination expert. We certainly bring so much to the table when it comes to talking about our destination and the specific nuances around it. So that's what I would add to that particular piece.
Martha, you really kind of talked about tracking down this information, giving the consultative advice. And Candy, would you kind of close out this tracking down or the herding cats with your thoughts on how you kind of use CVBs? What are your best practices for them helping you streamline this sometimes frustrating response process?
Well, I dovetail with what Martha had just said, that it's a tremendous asset to me for the coordination part of the RFP process. They know, the CVB knows their city and their property so much better than I, and they can help me streamline everything, particularly because we have some unusual things that happen with our contract process, specific clauses that I'm mandated to include, that sort of thing, and they can pre-vet that with a lot of the properties for me. Also, the timing for deadlines at the center or the hotels and the venues that I have to contact, that coordination is key for me. And take an overwhelming amount of time for me to task all this on my own.
Yeah, and I would also say that if your RFP is going out to multiple properties, whether it's for a program that fits within one hotel or one that's going to require multiple properties, we're very well equipped to track down the bids for you. Many of us use an extranet in this day and age, so that our hotels now have the ability to upload their proposals and to our extranet, and we can sort through those. Many of us use an electronic bid book process now to try and cut down on excessive amounts of paperwork. So we have the ability to take all of those proposals and enter them into one electronic document and include in that document all the other specific information that might be appropriate for your particular needs, such as transportation information to the destination, off-site venue information, local sightseeing options, etc. And we can have that all at your fingertips. It can be sent to you as the planner. It can be sent to your board of directors if you want it that way. We can put it in hard copy format. So there's just so much that we can do now with technology that would make your life, make the life of a planner so much easier if you just take advantage of what your CVB has to offer.
And I know we're running a little long as we had some audio issues and started late, but Martha, I wondered if you would end, or Candy, perhaps you might summarize and end about how you use CVBs for the logistics of your site inspection.
Candy, do you want to start, or would you like to?
I would. I'd like to speak to that because typically, in my instance, I very rarely do any sort of an inspection that I haven't pre-vetted the city. And the CVB is of such assistance with that, so that I can make sure that the city is going to be an almost 100% fit, or real close, before I go, and the CVB will always coordinate the site inspection for me, the connection between the hotels, the convention center, also venues that I might have an interest in, and any partners that would be key, like destination management companies and partners of that nature that I would need to meet with early on, prior to the contract even being signed.
Martha, one last thought, because I know that as I'm listening to Candy, there may be some planners on the conference saying, but I don't use a convention center and I don't have multiple hotels. So if you have one of those small meetings that you referred to earlier, is a CVB willing to help you with the same logistics of your site inspection?
We do. Again, our hotel properties rely on us to be a conduit to our customers. So, we would be we are more than happy, and we do it all the time. I was just speaking to one of my sales managers today who had a client in for a 50-room program, and we provide the same type of service. We coordinate the appointments at the hotels. We provide a city tour if necessary, and connect them with vendors that they might need to make their program successful. So absolutely. And again, Candy's a perfect example, though, of someone who maximizes her relationship with her DMO. And for us, she happens to be a citywide, but in many cities she may be, you may not be. But meetings of all sizes can benefit from a relationship with the CVB, no question about it.
Great. Well, we hope that everyone feels comfortable in their understanding and perhaps a bit more clear on how CVBs act as agents of knowledge and facilitators in their destination. But, we've also heard at DMAI that it can be very time-consuming to connect to destinations if you're considering multiple cities for your meeting. And so I'd just like to quickly make you aware of empowerMINT.com, which is Destination Marketing Association International's web portal for planners, and a planner who is searching for a destination professional like Martha or anyone on her team can begin a search at empowerMINT, can view destination profiles, can connect with the CVB, even submit an RFP to multiple destinations. So you would begin just quickly by selecting perhaps a region. So Martha, if I can, I'll say, I'm headed to the Northeast, and I have yet to select a destination, but I know that I am interested in heading to the Northeast, and if you came to empowerMINT, you would be able to see Northeast destinations represented. And at the same time, when you are ready to take a deeper dive, you can look at some kind of large level or high level logistics across, and then take a deeper dive into the destination profile. And there, destination to destination, you will see each profile organized exactly the same with 4 tabs: a destination overview tab, a meetings venue map tab that allows you to see every hotel property that is represented in the destination, as well as their major meeting facilities and airports that service that destination. You are able then, many planners say, I'm so unsure destination to destination which services CVBs provide and which do not. And so the CVB Services tab at empowerMINT is in direct response to planners wanting to know which destinations provide which services, and is it based on the size of the group? Is it always provided? Is there a fee? And does the relationship with the center, is it coordinated by the CVB, or is that a separate entity? And last but not least, the opportunity to connect directly with people like Martha and Kristen McGrath from Providence or any of the other destinations represented. And you have an opportunity not only to connect with these fine folks by submitting a full RFP if you're ready, making a quick request if you're not, or maybe even just as simple as opening an email to Kristen to ask her a quick question about something that you're wondering about in Providence. So we hope you will visit us at empowerMINT when you are looking to connect with destination experts. And then when you are at empowerMINT and you register, you have an opportunity to look at your post-event reports. And if you have a event that has been reported in our MINT database, which is the historical database that CVBs use to communicate histories with one another and their hotel communities, you can actually view and discuss your post-event report and open up an email discussion and check the accuracy of your event reporting or your group history reporting with the CVBs in a destination in which you have met. And last but not least, we'd like to connect you to another resource, which is our blog at blog.empowerMINT.com, run by Destination Marketing. And we think this blog is so unique because it gives you a lot of information in a lot of different formats. One, connecting you to our webinars each month that are always related to a planner topic of interest. Having an opportunity for you to hear CVBs and planners talk about resources that are available from their own perspective. This month you'll see that Candy is featured in her planner perspective as well as Martha. You can look at all of the articles and the webinars that are education-driven, things that you may look to further educate yourself and receive CMP credit on topics like attendance promotion or meeting planning tips, site venue selection, even social responsibility. And you can always take a look at any of our past webinar replays or even take a look at our upcoming webinars or events on our webinar page. So we hope that you will have a chance to visit our blog and tap into the many resources available to you there as well. I thank you all for staying online with us a little bit longer than anticipated, and also being able to have a chance to meet both Candy and Martha. And I'd like to give you both a chance to just close quickly, if you would, on kind of the theme of collaboration.
I just want to say that, again, our goal is to make sure that your program is successful regardless of where you have it. But if it's in our community, we want to make sure that it's a win-win, that your success is our success. The more delegates you bring to your program, the better fit you have with the venue that you've selected, the better experience you have in our destination, the more our destination will benefit. So I encourage you to understand that CVBs are your partners, and we want to work with you towards success.
And I can add to that that although my organization is involved in crime scene investigation, I can liken the CVB to any good crime scene investigator. They're given a challenge. They rise professionally and expertly with their partners in the destination, and they solve the problems that I might have just without all the blood and guts that you'd have at a normal crime scene. And that's why, for any destination, my first call is to the CVB.
Candy, Martha, thank you. And I know that your experiences and the way you've been able to articulate specific examples of how you utilize CVBs hopefully will clear up myths and misperceptions and perhaps encourage some of our planning partners to reach out to us first in the destinations under consideration. I know many are asking about CMP credit, so we want to make sure that you know that this session has been verified by CIC and that you will receive within 5 business days following this webinar a link that will let you print your certificate. And we hope that you will also join us in Washington in just a few weeks here. We will be participating in our annual Destinations Showcase. It's an exclusive trade show connecting planners with our fine destination experts. Again, you'll be able to receive more CMP credits, and best of all, it's free to you to attend. If you want to get more information, you can find that at destinationmarketing.org under Destination Showcase. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Also have a chance to ask Chauncey Keller with ePro Direct to perhaps just speak with us a minute about the opportunities available with meeting apps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak and ePro to sponsor this. It was awesome content, gals. Thank you so much. And as a former hotelier, I can guarantee all the meeting planners out there that if we got a lead from the CVB, I don't care what was going on, everybody in that office dropped what they were doing to answer that lead from the CVB, because it's such a strong relationship, and you want to make sure that those requests come in and go out first. So I completely agree with what you said with the relationships there. But ePro Direct and ePro Meeting Apps, I'm going to keep this very, very brief. ePro Meeting Apps has been designed by hospitality and marketing professionals. We all have a very strong background in meetings and events, and we are the first travel industry cross-platform mobile solution that provides affordable, customized mobile apps for your event. We have 5 different product lines. Event Suite, that's a do-it-yourself event guide, which doesn't have to go through the app approval process, starting low as $1,000, or Event Access or Group Link, which is one main app for your association or your corporation, and all of your events are housed inside of that. Again, a very low price, and then a standalone event link for a standalone event. So basically what I'm going to be doing, especially since apps are, kind of trending, and there's an app for that, et cetera, et cetera. And there's several app players in the marketplace. There's something for everybody out there, no matter what you want to do. I'm going to email everyone out in the next couple of days a list, 12 questions to ask your app provider. And that way you can kind of know what direction you want to go with the app. And even if you're a novice, you know what questions to ask from your app provider and get you answers that way. So ePro Meeting Apps and Chauncey Keller if you need anything, but I'll be sending a follow-up with just strictly that email app provider questions. It's going to help you all skyrocket to app experts.
Chauncey, thanks for that great takeaway. We really appreciate that. I'm going to turn it over to Shimo now. She's been monitoring our question board, and we have such great retention, so I know we must have a few questions as people have stayed on well past the half hour, and we certainly appreciate that. Shimo, any specific questions from the audience for either Martha or Candy at this point?
Thank you very, very much. And we had a question from one of our planners that's on the call today, Melissa. And she was saying, and maybe, Candy, you can answer this, is what would you say to the planner who wants sort of the sense of pride to say that they did all the work themselves, in the planning stages? And how would you woo that planner to use a CVB or, to do the work for them?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that my experience is that I have spent numerous hours doing all the legwork and doing all the research, and all too often I have not ended up with some resources that the Convention Visitors Bureau could have given me. And that is in many years past, many years ago, when I did not use the CVBs as my main resource. And I think even if you would choose to do a fair amount of the legwork and the research on your own, I wouldn't hesitate to call on the CVB to partner with you and let them help fill in the gaps there might be in the research and the work that you've been doing, because you're not in their area.
Excellent. Thank you, Candy. And I think that what I hear planners often talking about is, their need to be in the more strategic levels of the meetings versus being confined to, say, the logistics. So they're looking for more and more partners to sort of help them so that they can stay focused on other areas.
Exactly. I look at it as a puzzle, and so many of the pieces can be put together by the CVB that I don't have to search out myself.
And I just want to add that, in particular, our Director of Convention Services, Erin DeGoulis, whom Candy worked very closely with, we refer to her as our secret weapon because she works behind the scenes. You never know she's really there, but she is there to make sure that Candy and Jim looked great at every turn, no matter how big or how small the problem was. So our goal isn't to receive recognition for that. It's to ensure that our clients are shining when they're in our destination.
I have another question here from a planner, and I think Jerry, admittedly, Jerry was saying that he had stopped working with a CVB some years ago, so he was really intrigued by the title of this webinar. So thank you, Jerry, for joining us today. But he said that he had stopped working with a CVB previously because of a bad experience. Martha, what advice would you give him to assure that those bad experiences wouldn't happen again?
It's funny, I addressed this specifically in my blog on empowerMINT.com this month, but I'm very hands-on here, and maybe I'm not the rule for most DMO leaders. I hope that I am, though. I probably am, in that reach out to the CEO of the DMO or a senior management person and explain to them in advance what were your challenges, and gain assurances that whatever those challenges were aren't going to happen again in your experience with that particular DMO. I'm very often called upon for troubleshooting, for perhaps massaging a situation with between a customer and a vendor, or working with a vendor that didn't perhaps perform up to the standard that we like to set here in Providence. So I would say just tackle it from the onset and say, here's what my challenges were. Can you assure me that this is not the way that your CVB operates, and that this won't occur in my relationship with you?
Thank you, Martha. Well, Terry, I know we have a lot of other questions, but we are a little over our time, and so I promise for those of you that do have other specific questions, we'll answer them offline.
Thank you, everyone. Shimo, Martha, Candy, we are indebted to you for helping us with our mission, and our mission is simple. It is just to advocate for CVBs in all our destinations to say this is the best first point of contact to help you find exactly what you're looking for, no matter what size meeting. And all that's for free. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a tremendous day, and we look forward to seeing you in future webinars at Destinations Showcase in February, and perhaps online at Empowerment, or getting some resources from our blog. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.